What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. What's good with y'all? Go check out my other videos. Check them out. Check them out. But first, stay on this one. So I'm pretty excited about this. This is actually a gun review that I did not even plan on doing at first. And, it just so happened that this all was able to be done within a week's time. So I'm in a pretty good mood about it. You guys saw the thumbnail. You read the title. Let's get right into it. The Henry H001 500 round review. Technically, I put more than 500 rounds through this. Today alone, I put 700 through it. However, I can say that I know the actual owner of this firearm, as it is not mine. I can pretty much guarantee you he's put a good couple hundred through it as well. So I would even like to argue that there's been 1,000 rounds put through this gun itself. Now, let's talk about the owner for a second. Shout out to you, Marcelino. My good friend decided to sit here, and on top of offering for me to borrow this gun, on top of offering for me to borrow it, and I'm sorry, I just love playing with lever actions. I feel like a cowboy. But on top of offering for me to borrow this gun, gave me 700 rounds of ammo to shoot this with. Now, of course, it's 22, so don't sit here and be like, wow, this guy gave you so much. He spent so much money on ammo. It was like $50 of ammo, but by all means, dude, that was freaking amazing of you. Thank you so much, dude. This is why you are my Mexican, okay? And those of y'all who don't know, he's a Mexican, I know, so I call him my Mexican because, he never says he can't. All right, so let's get right into this review. Now, I will say, how many malfunctions did I have with this firearm? Well, I used several different types of ammo. For starters, I used 40 grain federal ammo. That was the majority of what I used, but I did also, if you guys see my shorts, you guys would know that I did also run some subsonic ammo through it as well. I used the Aguila 20 grain subs. So, overall, we had a few malfunctions. Nothing too crazy. I'll be honest, a majority of them can kind of just be attributed to 22 being a rimfire cartridge, which is light primer strikes. And even then, you know what I mean? Let's say, hypothetically, always make sure that you're clear. Let's say you get a light primer strike, you just pull the hammer back, pull the trigger again. You'll be good, I promise. Now, this thing is so freaking fun to shoot. It is so soft shooting. Obviously, it's a 22. Now, the cool thing about this is, let's say, hypothetically, you don't have any 22 LR, but you're like, you know what? I know my grandpa has, a bunch of 22 short in the back. Shoot that out of this too. Have fun. It says right, where the hell is it on the barrel? Right here. There we are. I don't know if you can see too well, but it literally says on the barrel that this is able to shoot 22 long rifle, 22 short, and 22 long. So let's get into this. I'm pretty excited. So 700 rounds, we had about 10 light primer strikes. That's roughly 1 every 70 rounds. That's not the worst for 22 LR. So I don't 100% put that on the gun. 22 LR just is known for not being the most reliable. Now, we did surprisingly have a double feed with the Aguila 20 grains, which was very surprising for me. That's a whole nother situation, but that only happened one time. Only happened once. So, hey, I'm not going to sit here and put that all on the gun, especially since after that, I pretty much decided, hey, I'm just going to run the Federals through here. And the most I had was light primer strikes. Now, did I finish running the Aguilas through here? Absolutely. I ran all 50 rounds out of the box that I had through them. And my goodness, dude, are they so quiet. I can talk about that all I want to. I could sit here for 20 minutes talking about how quiet the subsonic 20 grain Aguilas are. However, I'm just going to tell you to go check it out on my shorts. So, moving on. This holds a 15+1 capacity, and it is fed through a tube magazine right here. You go ahead and twist, you pull out the rod. That's what she said. And then you're going to go ahead and put your rounds in through this little slot right here. And of course, you're going to want to have it tilted at some level of an angle so that way the rounds will fall down the tube so that way you can get the full 15 capacity in there. Now, I'm sure some of y'all are wondering, well, how do you get the +1 in there safely without risking, shooting yourself? Because, it is a 22, but still, no one wants to shoot themselves. So I'm going to show you how you do that. So let's say You know what I mean? Because chamber is empty, as you guys can see there. Let's say I just loaded a round in there and I wanted to get another round in the tube mag. You're going to go ahead and pull the trigger with your thumb over the hammer and just gently thumb down that hammer. You don't want to go too quick when thumbing down the hammer. You want to be safe about it. And then guess what? Trigger's disabled. The gun can't fire. You're good to go ahead and get that extra round in there. You see what I mean? Now, some people might be wondering, how good is this gun for self-defense? You know, that's something we talk about a lot in my videos. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to run it through all 4 self-defense situations. However, I do want to point this out right now before I do so. Let's be honest here for a second, guys. If you think a 22 LR lever action gun is probably, if you think that's going to be your best bet for a self-defense situation, you got another thing coming, buddy. Now, one thing I will say, some of y'all might be wondering, oh, well, how is the action itself? Is it smooth? Is it nice to operate? And I mean, you guys can hear it yourself. It's pretty smooth. I will say that I did have to lube it. I didn't clean it. However, I did have to lube it a little bit just to make sure that things were moving a little more smoothly, as after 350-ish rounds around the halfway mark through my range trip, it started getting pretty stiff on me. You know, that was actually kind of funny because I'm sitting here, I'm like, wow, okay, I'm gonna fight this thing. But oh man, look, I had a great time shooting this gun. This is an extremely fun gun to shoot, extremely cheap gun to shoot at that. You can get it for a great price. You can get the ammo for a great price as well. And I'll even go one step further and to say this would not be the worst gun in the world to teach your child how to shoot on. Why? 22, so very little recoil. I don't know why my nose keeps itching. 22, so very little recoil. Then on top of that, it's a rifle, so you have a stock, you have that third point of contact right there, makes it easier to aim, easier to control. And let's say hypothetically, right? Hypothetically, of course, you know what I mean? Right after they fire, you want to stop them and be like, hey, hold on, I want to show you what you did wrong here. You don't have to worry about whether the gun is safe or not, because 1, the hammer's all the way forward, so you know it's not going to fire. 2, there's a spent casing that's still in there that you have to get out and put a new round in there. So I would argue this is definitely a great gun to teach your children how to learn this, you know, the importance of firearm safety. This would be a phenomenal gun for that. Now, with all of that being said, let's go ahead and move on, run it through all 4 self-defense situations, see where it stands. You know, why not, right? So, home defense is going to be kind of a rough one. Now, I will say 16-inch barrel, you know, I mean, you're getting much more of a velocity out of the 22 LR round, excuse me, than you originally thought you would get. And that's always a good thing, because 22 LR just doesn't deliver enough energy. It doesn't have the capabilities, the stopping power, if you would. But out of the 16-inch barrel, it kind of makes a difference. It kind of does, you know what I mean? So that's always freaking dope. However, what I can say is that, once again, I've spoken about this before. I've done a video specifically about lever actions. What do you have to do after you fire each round? See what I mean? Now, my problem with that is that, 1, it takes a good bit of time. Not like a ton of time, like, oh yeah, it takes 30 seconds to do that. But every millisecond in a self-defense situation counts. So, that being the case, you know, some people are going to make the argument, oh, well, why don't you feel the same way about pump action shotguns? I do, but I also don't harp on it so much because of the power that shotgun rounds, generally speaking, have with them. A 22 LR, I mean, yeah, you could probably hit them with the swarm of bees effect that people talk about. However, I mean, how much of a swarm of bees is it really going to be if it's one bee sting at a time, another bee sting, another. It's not of bee stings. It's just one. That's, you see what I mean? It's not really so much a swarm of bees here. So people can make that argument. However, truth be told, with a lever action, that argument is just non-existent. Now, of course, most criminals, they don't like being shot at as a whole. However, we are seeing criminals nowadays that are very ballsy and they have no problem shooting back. So, what I want to be in a shootout with, several, because most home invasions now have multiple perps, not just one. But what I want to be in a shootout with several people and this be the gun I have, probably not, especially if we're talking in a situation of home defense where somebody's already broken into my home. Probably not going to go for the H001. That's not going to be my first go-to. But that's fine, though. Here's why. We're going to go ahead and move on, right? Obviously, we're not going to run this into concealed carry. That's something I should have mentioned earlier. Obviously, no one is concealed carrying a Henry H001. And if you are, how? How? I want to know. Really, I'm curious. But if you are, you're probably some form of freaking cowboy at that point. Whatever. Not going to be able to run this through self-defense or not self-defense, concealed carry, of course, for varying reasons, but the most obvious being it's a rifle. Now, moving on to a shit hits the fan situation. I believe this rifle has a bit more use than people would like to say for it. And here's why I stress that. So, lever action itself, as long as you have a round in the chamber ready to go, in a shit hits the fan situation, you're going to need to be quiet. You're not going to want to be as loud because you're going to be giving your position away, which generally means that other people are going to find you. Whether they're good or bad is a whole other issue as well. So, I mean, you throw the Agilo 20 grains in here and you need to hunt something like, say, a squirrel, whatever, right? Guess what? Always double check. That sound right there of the hammer falling is pretty much the only sound you hear when shooting those. Now, I won't say the round is 100% silent. However, I can say that it is so quiet the first time that I put one of the Agilo rounds through here, I thought I had a light primer strike. I thought the round didn't go off. Let that be a testimony to how quiet those are. Now, some of y'all might be wondering, well, why is it the only sound you're hearing is a hammer falling? Well, that's because you're not hearing, because you choose when to do that. If you need to be quiet, it's probably not a great idea to just be sitting there. You see what I mean? It's probably not a great idea to just be sitting there doing that. Overall, I think that I just realized I never even gave a number for home defense. I don't know if you can tell, I'm actually pretty excited about this review. This is my first lever action review, my first 22 review. So, I mean, you guys excuse me for forgetting, right? But home defense, I'll have to be honest, I give this gun in particular probably a 3.5 out of 10. Now, this isn't to say that it can't protect your home. This isn't to say that it's the worst thing in the world, because trust me, there are plenty of much worse guns to use for home defense than the Henry H001. However, what I can say is that a 3.5 I think seems to be more than fair. Moving on, in a shit hits the fan situation, its score is going to increase tremendously just for the fact that, one, it's going to be a little bit quieter because of the fact that as long as you sit there and you hit your target, you don't have to, you don't have to operate the action. You don't have to operate the lever on there until, okay, maybe I'm in a, more of a secluded area that I'm not worried about people hearing me. Now, on top of that, the round itself, 22 LR, a great hunting round. Great hunting small game is going to be essential in a shit hits the fan situation, because you're not always going to be able to, find a wild boar or whatever. You're not going to be able to find some cow, some deer. You might not be able to find some someday, but you still got to eat. So guess what? That squirrel in that tree got to get cooked. Now, moving on from shit hits the fan, the number I would give it is probably going to be a 6 out of 10. As I said, the score changes tremendously based off the situation that you are in. Moving on to the final situation, animal defense. That's a tough one. Once again, as I just said, 22 LR is pretty good for hunting small game. Does this mean, though, that it's great for animal defense? Not 100%, and I want you guys to hear me out as to why. So, while yes, 22 LR can stop some animals for sure, it's good for hunting small game, once again, like rabbits, squirrels, whatnot. Some people have even recommended if a dog is attacking them, they would rather use a 22. Don't get why. If a dog's attacking me, I'm using whatever gun I have on me. But, but my whole point, though, is simply that while it might be effective in those situations, a majority of those situations aren't going to be situations that your life is truthfully on the line. Now, of course, there are exceptions. Don't sit here and think I'm not saying that there are exceptions, because I 100% agree. There are exceptions to the rule, but that doesn't change the general rule. We have to remember that part. So overall, for animal defense, I mean, if you're dealing with anything really bigger than knee high, I wouldn't recommend the Henry H001. Now, is this to say that, once again, it is a bad gun or that it can't do the job? No. And that's not what I'm saying. Am I saying it's the best? Hell no. Hell no. This is not the best for a majority of self-defense situations, but that's more than fine. A lot of people seem to, for some reason, have this idea that when I do a review on guns, all I'm looking for is, oh, well, how effective is it in self-defense? I'm more than aware that there are guns that just aren't good for self-defense. I've talked about a ton of them, actually. This is one of those guns. This doesn't mean it's a bad gun, but self-defense is probably not what the creators of this gun, probably not what the boys over at Henry, had in mind. Excuse me. But what I can say it is good for: plinking, training, whether you are training or maybe it's a family member, say your wife, your children, whatever. And overall, just a damn good time. This gun was so much fun to shoot. It was so freaking fun. I mean, even when the lever got a little stiff, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Still super fun to shoot. And even when it does get a little stiff, I added a little lube to it, operated the lever a few times, butter smooth again. You see what I mean? It's nothing too crazy that should make you look at this gun with distaste, especially considering what it is. It is a 22 LR lever action rifle. It does exactly as advertised in every way. There's no debating that. But with that being said, I want to give a final, excuse me. I don't know why I've been having to clear my throat a lot today. I want to give a final answer when it comes to animal defense. I'm going to match it with home defense at a 3.5 out of 10. Now, when you do the math, you're trying to figure out the whole total, right? We're roughly looking at a 13 out of 30, which is like 4 and change out of 10. So yes, on the self-defense scale, did the Henry H001 get the highest score? No. However, on the fun scale, did it get a pretty freaking high score? Absolutely. And I think that's something that most people can understand with a gun like this, is that this is not going to be your self-defense gun. This isn't going to be your home defense gun. Maybe your truck gun, maybe, but even that still seems kind of like a reach for most people nowadays. This is a gun that you shoot when you want to have fun. This gun is incredibly fun. And I mean, I just can't say that part enough about how fun this was to shoot. 700 rounds through it in less than 2 hours, I might add, with a lever action. It doesn't get more fun than that. You see what I mean? But with that being said, I think that about wraps up for this video, because we're already at about 20 minutes. I don't want to keep talking your guys' ear off. But overall, is the Henry H001 still a pretty damn cool gun? Absolutely. There's no denying. You can't sit here and say, oh, well, the gun's garbage. It's not. I mean, it's pretty freaking reliable for what it is. It's a 22 LR lever action, and it's pretty damn fun to shoot. And on top of that, because the caliber is chambered in, you can shoot it a lot for cheap. Now, with that being said, y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. When you hit that bell, hit all. And whether or not you agree with me about the Henry H001, go ahead and make sure to check out all my other videos. Y'all make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.